particularly young women in the Gen Z generation, 10 or 11 to 25 and 26. They're living their lives on social media. And they're not developing interpersonal relationships. It's making them very fragile. It's reaffirming this culture of victimhood. They're not getting ready for the world.
That blubber-faced toadstool and man complaining that lemon lollipops are too sour is Republican Senator from Louisiana, John Kennedy, who is more concerned about girls' fragility and victimhood than actual governing. I always find it real rich when Republican men complain about victimhood because the leader of their party is Donald Trump, the guy who whines nonstop on social media how he was the victim of a stolen election and a whole bunch of other crap. But let's talk about how this man has zero self-awareness because he can't ask himself why so many women are coming forward and feeling empowered by the platforms of social media to tell their stories of sexual harassment in the workplace and the insurmountable amount of control that men have over their bodies and their decisions. If men were the ones to carry and bear children, it would be an Olympic sport. Like there would be food truck style abortion clinics on every single corner. Tell me I'm wrong. I mean, let's be clear. Gen Z girls and women are victims of the right-wing male agenda to treat them as nothing more than a birthing factory for future meat potatoes. Kids. I mean, just watch as Ben Shapiro calls out women's individualism in this next clip.
According to brand new data from the CDC, teen girls are now experiencing a record high level of sadness and suicide risk. This, of course, accompanies new data showing that young boys are doing really poorly as well, dropping behind girls by nearly every measurable aspect of American life. So yes, isolation is a factor here. Yes, obviously, increased social media usage is a factor here. But there is a set of values that undergirds both of those things. And that set of values is atomistic individualism that suggests that there are no rules. There are no social stringencies. There is no community to which you belong. There is no role for you to play in American society. You are simply supposed to find your true happiness within.
This control and imposition on women to impose a role that they may or may not have ever agreed to is exhausting, I can imagine, and oppressive. I mean, the victim blaming here from Republican men, the oppressors, the victim blaming, is excruciating.
And as it turns out, no one can find their true happiness within. That is not where happiness lies. Happiness lies in obligations to others. Happiness lies in obligations to God. Happiness lies in obligations to communities. It lies in the ties that bind you to everyone around you. And when you sever all of those connections, and when you say to people that the truest sense of joy lies in your sense of sexual self-satisfaction, and you are talking particularly to teenage people who are hormonally chaotic, then what you end up with is widespread dissatisfaction, unhappiness, and suicidal ideation.
I mean, the general theme of Ben Shapiro and John Kennedy's comments are that women are doing bad and Gen Z values like individualism and rejecting traditional gender roles are to blame. When they can't look within themselves and realize that it's the male control of women's bodies and reproductive health that oppresses women, that then they see that oppression as victimhood in their eyes. That's like the abuser asking the victim, why are you bleeding and crying? When the abuser just like shivved someone, to death.
According to the Wall Street Journal, girls are particularly vulnerable to anxiety and depression, according to mental health experts, given the high rates of harassment and discrimination they face compared with boys. Again, now what we're going to do is we're going to claim that somehow over the course of the last 10 years, there has been widespread mistreatment of girls wider than there was in 2011, which cuts against pretty much everything we know about the levels of actual mistreatment in society of girls by boys in American society. So this is a self-reported survey. And there are certain things when it comes to self-reporting data. People do a really bad job of assessing how they feel or what's happened to them. Very often they're just wrong.
And of course, John Kennedy and Ben Shapiro don't believe women when they come forward about sexism and inequality and sexual harassment. Because why would the oppressors admit to being the problem? And let's tell the truth. Republican men are just pressed because they realize that many Gen Z folk and women are rejecting their traditional only style gender roles and expectations. And they are starting to realize that they're losing the culture war. And that's it here on The Breakdown. My name is Scott Johnson. You can find more of me on TikTok in the description below and my YouTube where I post my longer form content. It's pretty awesome, not gonna lie. I hope to see you there. And definitely, most importantly, do not forget to smash that subscribe button. You can find more from independent creators like myself here on The Breakdown. You know you want to. Definitely binge watch these videos. They're awesome.